resident atheist. Alright guys, my discussion actually is going to be about myself today. A lot of these audios I do is actually for my children and grandchildren. And you know, when I'm no longer a part of this planet Earth and I return to the essence, I wanted to leave something for them. So this is audio. It's actually for them. So let's talk about atheism. How I came across atheism. How I became atheistic. There's a saying I used to say. You know, when we are born, we're born into this world not knowing who we are, not having knowledge of religion, not having knowledge of what a God is, the God concept. So I'm very self-taught, no college degree. I have the type of brain that wants to learn, very mechanical. I like to break things down and take them apart, put it together again. Have always been that way as a child. And yes, I am a woman. You know, and I will break that down later on based on, you know, and the reason why I say that would be another topic, you know, me talking about, you know, how I'm a woman with 3 children and 3 grandkids. So we will talk about that later. But my discussion today is about atheism, how I came into it, and you know, I have my 2 youngest children. I raised them to be free thinkers and atheistic, and I have the 18-year-old and the 17-year-old. My 18-year-old daughter, I call her Kimmin, and my 17-year-old son, who's kind of like the male version of myself. And I say that he is literally the male version of me. But but you know, his generation is different from mine. You know, I raised them to be free in their thoughts. So you know, and my oldest son, who is 32, he's the one with all the kids. He was raised as a Christian. You know, I grew up my foundation was Christianity. I was raised as a Christian, never really believed in it. Let me put it that way. My grandmother was a devout Christian. There's a backstory behind that. She went to church almost 7 days a week, and I'm just being honest. And on Sunday, of course, she would, you know, if she thought we were somewhere in the vicinity of her home, she would drag us down to church on Sunday morning to make sure we go to church and Bible, you know, and do Bible study, which is interesting. Because she never broke open the Bible with us to teach us about religion. Just go to church, which I don't understand. You know, here it is. I have these so-called I had this religious grandmother, and, you know, and I just thought she was a very interesting woman. You know, she was you know, both of my grandparents were orphans. You know, they were raised by people who were not their biological parents, is what I'm trying to say. Which is interesting. So what brought me to my atheism is me always questioning the concept of God, and that question always was in me since I was a child. Even from the time I got baptized, I was not, I was always curious and questioned the concept of God and Jesus. Jesus was not my friend, okay? I didn't understand why why we needed this middleman between us and God. That was my thing for about 20 something years. Why do I need this, actually from the time I was probably 13, why do I need this middleman? Why is Jesus Christ so important? Why was he so important? That was me as a teenager. Why do I need this middleman between me and the universe? And that was my thoughts for up until I was 20. And I'm telling you, I did not believe when I got baptized, and I'm trying to remember what age it was. Maybe it was 9, 10, I don't know. Maybe it was when I know I was young, and I shouldn't have never got baptized because I actually did not believe in Jesus Christ. And when I got older, come to find out, I was told you are not to be baptized unless you believed in the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's what I was told. And I was so angry that my grandmother forced us to get baptized, knowing we were young children and we did not grasp or take in the concept of Jesus Christ. I didn't understand it. I didn't believe in it. So I was baptized, and end of story. And it bothered me. Even then, it bothered me that I got baptized. And she said, "Oh, on Sunday you need to walk up there and, say you want to be saved by Christ." That really bothered me, for a very long time. So let's go into what really intrigued me. I remember there was this, when I was in the 6th grade, there was this science teacher. I love science. And she was talking about, we were studying the science of life, biology, and she was talking about that. And when she got on the subject of how humans were created, I was kind of like, what the hell is going on? And it really, and at this time, my brain was still like, really didn't understand. But as I got older, I felt like I was bamboozled. Seriously. I felt like I was bamboozled. I was still dealing with religion at the age of 20-something. And I was still going to church, still not believing, questioning the whole... Jesus was not my friend. He just wasn't. He wasn't God. And I couldn't understand, and people couldn't understand that I couldn't understand that Jesus was not God to me, and why the heck that I needed this person to be the middleman between me and God. I was seriously trying to comprehend that, and I couldn't. And as I got older and started really studying outside of that, I even studied with Jehovah's Witnesses, all kinds of people, just to get a better understanding. Who was this Jesus character? So now, here we are. In my 20s, mid-20s, I came across my other foundation, Allah's 5% Nation. That concept intrigued me for about 4 or 5 years, and I was on to atheism. I was done, because even with the Allah's 5% Nation, the gods in the earth, I saw religion within that. I saw a cult. I was going to the events, the show and proves. I went 3 years straight, and on my 3rd year understanding, I acknowledged the fact that it was very cultish and religious. The singing, peace to Allah, injustice, that's how they was started out, and it took me back. It reminded me of church. And I was like, yo, I can't. I took my daughter. I said peace to whoever who recognized me when I was dealing with the 5% nation of gods and earth. I was done. You know, I trashed my book of life, which was really thick. And do you know, when I said I was done, and I come across these so-called earths who are in that movement, when I told them I was done, you know, oh, you just didn't understand. Even the brothers, even the gods, oh, you just didn't understand. And it took a God that really, and a lot of gods that I built with back in the day, they were older gods. You know, I got a lot of jewels from them cats. I got a lot of jewels from those elders. And I ain't have to lay on my back to get those jewels. I heard a lot of queens had to do that. I didn't. You know, I didn't have to fuck no one to get those jewels, to hear those gods build and teach me about the history of the gods and the earth. So, but anyway, and how those rules, about their rules and regulations. I didn't have to do anything for that. All you have to do is look, listen, observe, and respect. Those brothers open up their mind, and they will build for hours. They were very compassionate, and I love that. But anyway, I just find people in New York City, in Mecca, in Brooklyn, and and me being from Texas, they were very cliquish. The brothers and sisters, they were very cliquish. It was either their way or no way at all, which was very interesting because how I interpret how you are supposed to learn the lessons. Sure, you're supposed to get a God, to teach you to give you the lessons, and you're supposed to write your definitions. Your definition, not quote someone else's definition. So that's how I was taught. So, but let's talk about that. And I thought that was interesting. So once I moved past that, and once I got beyond years later, and I was very seasoned with my atheism, I built with a lot of brothers who are very religious, even some Moorish cats, brother down in Savannah. Peace to the brother Umar, Islam brother. And there was some black Hebrew Israelites that I built with. They gave me some jewels, spoke with me about their teachings. The thing is, I was the type of person, and still is, who enjoy listening to people talk about the history of religion. I'm always enjoy that. But you have some people who are like, no, sister, come to the light. Believe in Jesus. Believe in the Bible. Believe in the Quran. No, I'm good. I'm peace. I'm a selfish concept. I have offsprings, and I love that. I'm not interested in being in a cult. That's just real talk. I am my own cult. So basically, I have my own ideology, and I've always said Atheism. And I came to that conclusion. That's my ideology, my philosophy of life, the beginning of who I am. The God within self. That's what Kessa means. The God within self. It means me, myself, and I. So, but anyway, once I got beyond that, boy, I just noticed how brothers and sisters of the gods and earth, they was very clicky. I mean, they loved their lessons. It was like our lessons this. I'm like, miss me with that. Miss me with that. The gods and earth, y'all need to update y'all files. This is a different time. If you want to draw in new gods, new earth, and right now, this is a different time. You know, you have a lot of goddesses. You got people claiming they're goddesses. There are people who are gods and has nothing to do with the gods and earth. You know, but you know, I get it. You know, the nation of gods and earth still exists, but you need to update your file. That's the reality. You know, I saw a lot of fuckery going on within the nation those times I went down to New York and in those show and prove. Man, it was, y'all can't tell me it wasn't. You know, from 1999 to 2002, yeah, there's a lot of shit going on. And I was there. I got the pictures to prove it. And I remember those times, and I was like, "Yo, this is interesting," you know, you know. But let's move forward. You know, I sit at the table of gods right now, and those gods are my children, my offspring. You know, I have a duty, you know, to make sure they come up to be accountable, responsible human beings. You know, it's not a joke out here. You know, just because we share the same complexion or we are people of color or dark-skinned people. I'm not dark-skinned, but I love my beautiful dark-skinned people. Word life. But at the end of the day, this is what I want to say. You know, I'm atheistic, and I chose that concept because it's easy for people to understand how to describe what I don't deal with. That's why I say I'm atheist, because it describes what I refuse to acknowledge and don't deal with. Now, if you're a black atheist out there, you know, this is not, being an atheist, me being a hardcore atheist, has nothing to do with knowing the science of life and universe and talking about Darwin. No, I don't deal with that. I don't deal with that. I can study it and learn it and know what it's about, but at the end of the day, I define myself as an atheist because I do not acknowledge the concept of God as far as a supernatural being. I not acknowledge the concept of God as this character, you know, because, you know, religious people give God human characteristics, which I don't like. God can create whatever. No, humans have more God complex characteristics than the whole concept of God. But, you know, let's talk about, when I say that, I don't acknowledge it because if I can't see it, feel it, or it doesn't, you know, to me, the religious God concept is an insult. I don't like the idea that God is a spectator. That's how I see their concept, their whole concept of God. A spectator that looks back and see and know what's going to happen before it happens. That is so weird to me, because it's like me sitting back watching my children just screw the hell up and can't do anything about it. And won't know. It's not that I can't. Because remember, God is the all-knowing. God knows things before it happens. These are the titles humans we give, the religious people give God. These are the characteristics. They give God these, you know, God created the universe. When God is a feminine concept, you know, it sounds like a feminine concept. Because the only thing that gives birth and brings forth life are women. And men, this is not to degrade or downgrade who you are as human beings. This has nothing to do with that. Please don't be offended by what I'm saying. But you know, in present time right now, the one person that have breasts, that has a womb, and when you spray your sperm around, your sperm ignites that egg. You know, that egg exists, but it ignites it. It's the woman, you know, women, we have been taught for so long that a man decides what the sex is. You know, I need more evidence on that. I mean, I need more evidence on that. You know, I really, you know, I'm not sold on that concept yet. I'm not. I'm just not. You know, but I always say men are just a broken ex. I always say that. You know, but science is changing. It's updating itself. It's evolving. You know, it's turning in. You know, now that more women are getting into science, the truth is coming out. Men are no longer hiding the truth behind science in regards to women, the feminine part of creation. Now, let's go back. I'm getting off topic. Let's go back to me associating creation with the religious God concept. I don't do that. Like I said, number one, I find that religious God is a spectator. Number two, I don't associate it with creating because I don't see where it's creating. I don't, you know, it's not my job. And to all you religious people, I don't have time to argue with you about your God. That's your God, not mine. I don't acknowledge it. That's your God. But at the end of the day, don't disrespect me because I will disrespect you in regards to your religion. You know, if you want a level of respect from me in regards to what you believe in, you need to come correct with me. I'm not here to convert you. It's not my job to convert you. It's not my job to show and prove who your God is because I don't acknowledge it. How can I show you what your God is when I don't acknowledge it? It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't add up to me. I'm about to go out there and show and prove who your God is. No, that's not my job. It's not my job to sit up there. The burden shouldn't be on me to prove to you that your God don't exist. I don't give a fuck about that. If you choose to believe in Jesus Christ and God, that's on you. I don't care about that. You can't save me. I'm not trying to be saved, religious people. If you're a Muslim, a Jew, Black Hebrew Israelite, I'm not looking to be saved. I'm going to tell you, even in my dreams, I'm atheistic. In my dreams. Even if I lose my mind, my brain, whatever neural nerves that are working inside my brain will bring me to an atheistic thought. That's how it is. That's why I call myself the resident atheist, because that resides in me. That whole idea of God does not exist resides in me. That whole concept of religious God does not exist resides in me. I cannot bring myself or allow myself to acknowledge something that is a spectator. That's where I draw the line. I don't like the idea of something being a creator and the total reflection of it is to look at you screw up your whole life. Because perfection give birth to perfection. Facts. But yet here we are. And this is not to disrespect anybody who believes in God. This has nothing to do with you. I'm a selfish concept. Very selfish. And I say that. My children know how I am. I learn from them. It is my job because they're living in a time that their time is different from how I grew up. They are very smart human beings. You know, how they view and see life. I'm hoping they will raise their children in an atheistic manner, raise their children to be free thinkers, I hope some of my free thinking ways rub off on my grandkids. If it don't, I'm cool with that. I'll allow you to be who you are as long as you are respectable. It is what it is, my people. I love my black people. I love how far we have came in America. I stay in my lane in regards to what I deal with, who I choose to deal with. I have come this far in life. I decided not to argue with my brothers and sisters who are very religious. I learned to, once I got out of that phase of arguing, because that was a phase I felt like I was duped. I felt like my people were being duped. And once I got out of that phase, I was very satisfied at the fact that I no longer have to argue with them. It felt very good not to argue with them. And now when I, with all that I have learned with Islam, with the Nation of God on earth, with the teaching of Noble Dualis, Marcus Garvey's teaching, and all these other, black culture that within America, I love that. I love learning about it. Knowing who we are in our diversity, and when I say that, we are not all the same. We are not all going to have the same philosophy and ideology in life, and that's okay. And that's what I try. An atheistic person such as myself could never go sit at the table of people who are trying to build a community. We are the first people to get shunned because we choose not to believe in a God. We choose not to be a part of that. And we are exiled for it. I'm telling you. I have been on radio shows and I spoke to certain so-called black leaders who are ahead in their communities, and I know when I tell them I am an atheist, they cringe. They were like, "Oh, black people are not atheists." Listen, before we learned who we were, we were atheistic before we were born. When our mothers gave birth to us, we had no knowledge of God. Even if your mother spoke God, 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 God in the womb, when you were in the womb, you still had no knowledge of God. And that's just facts. The human brain has to be developed. Those neural systems, those roads in your brain have to be built, had to be nourished, flourish, had to work properly. Your mom had to eat the right food in order for those nerves to go all over your brain to function as you grow into a fully developed human being. So, if you choose to be religious, that's beautiful. I'm telling you, some of the most religious people I come across are the most unrighteous people in the world. They are very unrighteous. I don't understand it. How can you believe in a God and be a part of this God concept that sounds righteous in a sense? It sounds that you believe that it's righteous, and and you're the most unrighteous person I ever came across. I can't say the most unrighteous, but your ways in action pretty much come across unrighteous. I mean, you know, today I met this Hebrew, you know, this black Hebrew Israelite brother. Oh my gosh, he was so convicted on me just being wrong about my way of life. And I've come across brothers who were like that. I had to step back and realize, whoo, shit, I can't build with him. And he couldn't understand why I had, you know, when I was living in North Carolina, my king and I, we hung out with some black Hebrew Israelite brothers. He used to film them. You know, that was him. That was the thing he was into. And I didn't care about that. But I hung around with these people because they were beautiful black people. I didn't disrespect their way of life when I went amongst them. But it made me realize, man, you Hebrew Israelite brothers need to fucking chill. Y'all indoctrination is heavy. If you gonna believe in the Bible, brothers, you gotta come correct. You know, when I was in Raleigh in North Carolina, man, those Hebrew Israelites were very respectful to me. In spite of the story that was coming out of Durham of the brother killing that sister and the other sisters murdering that sister and her baby, in spite of that story that was coming out, those Hebrew Israelites out of Raleigh were very respectful. I can give you that much. I didn't feel uncomfortable around them. They wasn't trying to force their way of life because their actions pretty much showed and proved who they were as a people and how they came together. But you know, these cats out, you know, I'm not gonna blame the cats out here in Houston, because I ain't really come across, but I recognize you brothers when I see you, and I give y'all peace. I mean, I'm not gonna disrespect your way of life. That's who you are. Please don't disrespect who I am as a black woman who on her own personal journey as an atheistic black woman. You know, that it is what it is, brother. You know, I ain't trying to cupcake. Shit, I'm a woman of a certain age. I don't need to cupcake, baby. You know, don't disrespect me. Because the last thing you want me to do is to get my ass in that book and start studying with you. Because I question everything. Baby, I question everything. And I have. Ever since I was a child, I questioned it. And nobody liked that. Since I know you're not going to like it, if I come to you saying, peace, brother, whatever, whoop-de-whoop, leave it at that, brother. Leave it at that. Stop being so aggressively trying to educate people about your religion, you know, and drawing the people who need to be in your... Because these white people ain't going nowhere. You're not going to grow your community with all that rah. That ain't going to happen. Because you're going to be where you are and not go anywhere at the end of the day. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to draw any women. No woman is going to deal with you. You know, and some of you brothers need to realize no woman don't need no dude who lives in a constant misery of trying to figure out who God is. That brother, obviously, that I was building with, he had no idea who God was and who God is. All he could depend on is that Bible. That Bible had King James on the side of it. I was through. You know, the brother had tats all on his body. And I think that brother, you know, he honestly believed that I didn't know what those tattoos represented. Because he had gods and earth. It seemed like I saw some Malachi York going on his arm. You know, I saw Egyptian Pharaoh on his arm, and he, you know, not to disrespect the brother, but at the end of the day, you know, he wanted to burn his foundation off his arm, but yet he was holding a King James version of a Bible, if I'm not mistaken. And I was trying to look at the side of it. I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, you gonna argue with these white folks about who they are, bruh. You need to figure out who you are. You know, black man gonna always be God to me. Shit. You know, that's just my love for the black man. You know, and that's how I see. I don't know about, you know, when it comes to creating life and bringing forth black life, black man is God to me. You know, that's how I see life. I don't, you know, there's no convincing me no otherwise. I know my people need improvement. I know my people need upliftment. I know we need to protect those who are in our circle who understand that's what we need. But yet here we are. This is a different time, you know, and I'm hoping that, you know, when my son, my two youngest ones grow up, I'm looking forward to see what they bring forth. I'm looking forward. I hope I live long enough to see that, to see them bring forth some grandchildren. You know, I hope the universe, you know, and yes, I say things like that. You know, I am blessed, you know, that the universe will bring forth that. But I have, you know, only time can tell that story. I don't attach no God concept to what it is. You know, I could look, I know I live on a planet. I could see the sun, moon, and stars. That's what I see. You know, beyond that, you know, man gave that name. You know, man doesn't know how the universe was begot. It only has an idea of how it was begot. You know, you can dress that shit up how you want. But at the end of the day, you know, if you decide not to deal with the concept of God or don't associate it with the religious God with the concept of creation, then you're on the right path to understanding, you know, of defining yourself. You know, we as black folks living in America need to learn that. We need to learn how to define ourselves. We need to relearn a lot of things. We need to, I'm not telling you to throw away religion. If some people like to fellowship, they need to fellowship. You know, I'm one of those people who like, I'm good. You know, fellowshipping is not my thing because I'm a weirdo. You know, it's not about hanging with other weirdos. I just don't give a damn about certain things. But but the only thing I truly care about is the upliftment of black people. That's one thing I do care about. You know, I think, you know, everything else really doesn't matter. So that's all I really wanted to say. You know, my point of view in regards to atheism, how I see the concept of God, what I'm willing to acknowledge, what I don't, and where I am now. You know, and I hope my children, you know, and my grandkids will appreciate this video, because a lot of these audios I am making is for them. You know, because I know there will be a time where I will no longer be on this planet, and they need to know what grandma or what or have a memory of what their mother, her whole thought process was. You know, shout out to brother Kemen. You know, my beautiful grandbabies. You know, I love you guys. Peace.